I have a problem. I want to learn a new language, German, so I tried using Duolingo. But I have two issues with Duolingo. First, I have to learn by tapping buttons in the app and not by speaking. Second, the notifications and reminders from the Duolingo owl are driving me crazy, so I killed him. So, let's see what we can do with this. We're going to try to build from scratch our own AI language learning assistant. The goal is to make something that's cheaper, smarter, and that we can learn by speaking. Now, before we do any type of actual building, we have to design it first. So that way we can save time and we don't need to invent the wheel as we're building the wheel. We can actually design the wheel first and then build it. Way faster, way less time saved, way more brain calories preserved. So, the language learning assistant. First of all, what do we actually want to do? The whole point is that we are able to replace Duolingo. So, my so-called MIDAB or MIDUB, however you want to say it, system of mapping, identifying, designing, architecting, and then building it. Most other guys go straight up into the architect or just a technical design by just building it. Whereas this is a way better approach that the veterans use. And this will save you a lot of hours of developing because you can see issues way beforehand. It's the same as if you're building a road and you don't even plan it. You just have some idea and start building the road. And it takes months. And then in month 9, oh, wait, we made a structural mistake. We need to start all over again now because we didn't think of this before. Whereas if you do this system instead, you can design the road, you can foresee the obvious problems that you would have run into otherwise. And now it takes a few weeks instead of almost a year of building it. So having said that, this is the system I use for talking to clients, right? So first of all, you talk to a client, you figure out what's the current process, and then you identify the issues. Right now, if we compare this to Duolingo, the difference is that currently it is using an app that I don't normally use, then learning daily by, as GPT said, daily learning, vocabulary, grammar, conversation practice, listening and some speaking, progress tracking, motivation. So in this framework, we map the process first, we identify the issues with it, then we design a new version that solves the issues, and it's better than the current way it goes. Then we do the actual design of it on a technical front, and then we actually build it, test it, and actually implement it, right? So these 5 phases or steps, how we're going to call it. Now, currently, we are using Duolingo. Problem with it is, so the bottlenecks, it is $14 a month. And in this economy, might be better to just save some dollars there monthly. Second, annoying owl. Third, we want to speak more than writing or reading. Because if you want to go to Germany, want to go on vacation for a few days, the reading and the writing doesn't make much sense, but the speaking and listening will make a lot more sense to know. Then we go to what do we need? The functional solution design. And that's where the ChatGPT prompt comes back in, because we can figure out as an MVP, what do we want minimally in there? I think a word of the day is very much possible. Chatbot conversation would be pretty smart to have. So as I mentioned, for the minimal viable product, for this demo version, basically, we want to have between 1 and 3 features in total. So I would say word of the day is one we can do, will be the first one. Then chatbot conversations, where it will respond in German and also give the English translation, for example. And vocabulary lists. That'll be good, I think. Just writing them down over here. Word of the day, conversations, and and vocabulary lists. So these 3 functionalities we want to have. Okay, cool. So now we've got the what figured out. And of course, we want to use Telegram. We'll need to use some kind of AI model for this. We'll need to have speech to text, but also text to speech. We'll need end, of course, to build all the logic. And that should be about it for now. So again, I want to reiterate, this is going to be the MVP. This is not a fully fledged solution yet. That comes later on. Maybe I'll make a series out of this. So now we're going to go to the how of it all. Well, first of all, we'll need to think about when does this process start? When does the chatbot do stuff? Of course, when we send a message in Telegram. It's over here as a trigger. So it's able to respond. But also on certain times of the day or of the week. So time-based as well. Anything else? Not really, I think, for the simple version. Okay, those are going to be the triggers. Then it needs to be able to send a word of the day. It needs to have conversations and vocabulary lists. Word of the day can be an easy one. It starts with a trigger in the morning and gives word of the day, gives the German word or German English translation and the meaning, and maybe also a sentence comes along with it. These four things. Then for the conversations, the chatbot should always respond in German. So always German, but also the English translation. And it can understand English, well, any language really. So that should be fine. But we also want it to, and the same goes for word of the day, to send the audio version of the word. Audio and also the German audio. Okay, then vocabulary lists. It will give a list of 7 words at a time. And well, this might be a bit more advanced, but from simple to complex based on a theme. And this will be in response, of course. This will also be in response because you can ask for, hey, give me a vocabulary or give me a list of food, for example. And then we'll give words about food. So I think these are basically some of the features for now. So word of the day is going to be like that. So then to make it even more of a technical design equals trigger happens, AI chain will give a word. No way, we can do this even simpler. Well, simpler, more robust, I would say. So instead, what we can do, also keep it in there because it's all about learning and building in public. What we can do is we can go to some kind of English word of the day website, or German actually, might be even better, but I'm not sure those are easily accessible. Word of the day, and then use that as a word. And then, so this is going to be a website probably somewhere step, so HTTP step, and then we'll turn that into, well, first we have to clean it. Then we have an LLM chain that will be given this word and it will generate all of these things first. Then it will send the Telegram message as a text, and then it will use text to speech to generate the audio in Telegram. And that's it for the word of the day, I think. Yeah, that makes sense to me. So then we also have the conversations. So for the conversations, triggered by a message, then first to determine, is this a text or is this audio that we're receiving? So if I send a voice message, if it is a text, then it just goes to the agent that will have to, of course, prompt properly, understand any language, and then responds in German and English, which will then send a text, speech, audio. Okay, interesting. So I send a text. It will determine if it's a text or audio. It's a text in this case. Then we'll go to the AI. It will make a response based on the prompt I give it. And then it will send a text back and it will send the audio of the German part of it. For the audio of the German part of it, I do need it because we do need to feed the German sentence into the audio part. We don't want the entire message to be sent to the audio. So we may need to have 2 steps instead. I'll explain this in a moment. So we need one AI agent that would respond in German, and then we have another one that would respond in English by using whatever the German agent said. And then it will send, can this be one text? This can be one text. But then the audio, so the text to speech, will only use the German data that was sent over. So if I say, hey, what does I eat a hamburger mean in German? The German version would respond with something in German that says, hey, I eat a hamburger, for example. And then the English one would give the English translation, of course, and send both of them in the same text, in one text. And then for the text to speech step here, we will only feed it what the German agent said. So then we get the German audio and not the English audio as well. And that, I think, is one way to go about it. Then, if it's an audio, we first have to check, is this in English or is this in German? So then, speech to text, then we get the actual text, and then we can send it to the same one, actually. Now, can it actually understand how well we're pronunciating? Maybe not. Maybe that's a lot more advanced. So maybe not that part. But then we get a text, we get it to German, then to English, and then we get it back as an audio and as a text too. Okay, that makes sense. And I suppose that even if you spoke in German in a voice note, you would send it over, and the agent wouldn't understand. It would tell you it doesn't understand it. Yeah, yeah, okay. So it kind of is there. Interesting. All right. Then we've got vocabulary lists. So that's going to be the third one again, based on the response as well. That will be the trigger. Oh. Can also be text or audio. And in this case, it would be the same. No, hold on. No, this would be the same thing actually. So let me just remove this. That goes through the same process really. But we gotta put in a prompt within the agent, the first and second one, about lists. So lists from, and that's how we can do it. Okay, cool. So this would all be an NN. We would have Telegram. Do we need some kind of a database for this? Not for the MVP if you want to keep it simple, but it would be the next step, the next iteration. Because you would, let's go over here first for development, you would have the MVP, has 3 features, and then the +1 version of this would be, let's say, 5 features, just to keep it a little bit. MVP would have N8N plus Telegram, then +1 would also have Airtable, for example. So plus Airtable, because it could store the words of the day, it could store conversations, it could store some kind of a database that would keep track of what the lists were that were sent. So then whenever you ask for another list, it could go down and check. So for example, we could assign a tool to the German one, would need to be Airtable, that would check the previous lists that were given to the user. And then based on that list, it will determine if it should give you a simple one or a complex one, right? If you ask for a vocabulary list all about food and you've asked 4 different ones and you got 4 different lists, maybe now it should go to complex. And maybe we could even say like, hey, 1 is complex. Sorry, 1 is simple, 5 is complex. So if you've already received 4 different lists, and now you, for the 5th time, you're asking for a list about food again, now it would go to give you a little bit more complicated version of that list. And so you have, let's say, 4 more of these, and then would go to the next one, etc. Right? That could be one way to make the system work with the simple to complex. But that I think is more of a +1 version. Maybe we'll get to this in this video, but maybe in the next video if people want a series out of this. So 3 features, 5 features, Airtable added. I think that's about it, because we want to stick to the MVP mostly. We don't want to think too far ahead because we don't even know if it's actually possible yet. In theory it is, but we have to really make it happen. So this is the bit of brainstorming we just did based on mapping the current process, which is Duolingo. What are the issues? So it costs money. $14 a month, there's the annoying owl, and you, of course, you want to speak and listen more than you actually would write and read, especially if you're going to go there on vacation for the next 2 weeks, for example. You know, it could be Germany, could be Spain, could be France, because we can apply this to any language virtually. Now, the word of the day, the conversations, and being able to get vocabulary lists are 3 of the features we want to see in the MVP version. How we're going to do, we also laid out just now. And we also know for the MVP, it's going to be 3 features, and then in Telegram for now. We could also upgrade it to further and further steps. And of course, we do need to do a lot of testing. So having said that, now we're ready to go and dive into NNN.